Everything you believe about what it means to be a successful business owner, the hustle, the sacrifice, the always-on availability, I'm gonna tell you that most of that is wrong. Not because you're not smart, but because you were given a belief system that was designed for someone who doesn't have limits, kids who need a present mother, or a life outside of a revenue number. And you adopted it anyway because everyone around you did too. Because the woman who pushed the hardest got the most praise. And because exhaustion was rewarded so early in your life that you stopped questioning whether it was ever really supposed to feel this way. I have 9 beliefs about business that most people in this space will argue with. And I am pretty confident that at least 3 of them are going to make you uncomfortable. Good. That's exactly the point. Belief number 1. You think ambition is a virtue. I think ambition without a finish line is just an addiction. Here's what I mean. Ambition towards something, a specific goal, a specific line, a specific number that means something real to you, that's powerful. That's directional. That kind of ambition builds things. But most high-achieving women I know, they're not ambitious towards something. They're just ambitious. Perpetually. The goal is always the next thing. The revenue line keeps moving, and the finish line doesn't exist. And I was exactly that woman. For years, I treated more like it was automatically the right direction. More revenue, more clients, more growth, more proof that I was serious. And I never stopped to ask, more toward what exactly? What was I actually building toward? I didn't have that answer because I never really asked myself the question. Here is something that nobody in the business world really wants to admit. The hustle culture industry profits every single time you think more is the right direction. A woman who is defined enough and is actively protecting it is not a customer anymore. She doesn't need the next course, the next mastermind, the next scaling workshop. So the discomfort you feel when someone tells you you can stop, that discomfort was installed on purpose. So ask yourself honestly, do you know what your finish line looks like? Or are you just still running because you feel like stopping means you failed? I'm Nicollette Harris. I'm a single mom, I homeschool my 2 kids, and I run a successful appraisal business that doesn't require me to be there every day. I didn't build it that way because I'm exceptionally organized. I built it that way because my body forced me to. And that's a longer conversation, but it is why I believe everything I'm about to tell you. Belief number 2, you think scaling is the goal. I think scaling breaks every business it touches, even the ones that survive it. I know how that sounds, but here's what I've actually seen in my business and in the businesses of women that I've worked closely with. Every time you scale, you introduce instability into the business. New people you need training, new systems that need building, new problems that you didn't know even existed when you were at the last level. The business that was running smoothly suddenly has cracks everywhere. Most people experience this and they think they did something wrong, or they're not cut out for the next level, or they need to hire better, or lead better, or just do better, work harder. But nothing went wrong. That's just what scaling does. It's disruptive every single time. The question, the one that no one really ever asks, is whether the gain that you receive on the other side is actually worth what the disruption cost you. Financially, physically, in your relationship with your kids, in your health. Sometimes the answer is yes. I'm not saying never grow. I'm saying don't just automatically assume that's what you're supposed to do. Growth is not automatically the right answer. Because a lot of women are sitting on businesses that were working, businesses that they were happy in, and they blew right past that, chasing a number that someone else told them that they should want. Belief number 3, you think enough means you gave up. But I think enough is the only actual way to win. This one bothers people the most. I've said it out loud and watched someone's face completely shut down. Because we have been so thoroughly trained to believe that contentment is weakness, that if you're not growing, you're dying, and that any woman who says that they have enough either didn't dream big enough or ran out of fight. But I want you to think about what happens to the women who never define it. They hit every goal they set and feel nothing. They build the team and resent managing it. They reach the revenue number and immediately move it. They are never done. They're never satisfied. They are always one achievement away from the life they're trying to get to. And they're never gonna make it there because the destination keeps moving. That is not success. That's a very expensive hamster wheel. Defining you're enough isn't giving up. It's actually the most strategic and courageous thing you can do in a culture that directly benefits from your dissatisfaction. The moment you define enough and mean it, everything changes. What you say yes to, what you say no to, who you hire, what clients you have, what you do with a Tuesday evening. Enough is not a surrender. It's a decision. And most people are too afraid to make it. Belief number 4. You think exhaustion means you care? I think exhaustion means something in your structure is broken. I lived this one completely. I wore my exhaustion like a badge. I was proud of how much I could handle, and I thought that how tired I was just meant I was serious, that I was committed in a way that other people just weren't willing to be. What it actually meant was I had built a model that my body couldn't sustain. I have ankylosing spondylitis, an autoimmune condition that attacks the spine, and what I can tell you is that my business made it worse. Hustle culture taught you that fatigue means you're doing it right, that rest is for people who don't want it bad enough. I am here to tell you from the inside of the consequences of hustle culture that fatigue is a diagnostic. It is your body reporting on the structure that you built, and it will keep getting louder and louder until you listen to it. The question isn't how do you push through it? The question is, what is it trying to tell you? Belief number 5. You think your drive is a personality trait. I think it's a wound that never got treated. Most high-achieving women I know were high-achieving, anxious kids first. They were the ones who couldn't sleep before a test, who felt physically sick when they got something wrong, who were praised for their stress by teachers, parents, coaches, because it produced results. And so they learned, before they were old enough to even question it, that their worth was dependent on their output. That kid grew up, started a business, and is still running the exact same program. That perpetual overwork isn't drive. It's a nervous system that never learned it was okay or safe to stop. It's an identity that got fused with performance so early that rest feels irresponsible. It's an achievement addiction that started at 12 years old and has never been questioned. I homeschool my kids partly because of this. I watched what school is doing to all of the kids around mine. The anxiety, the belief that their worth is tied to their grades, the fact that they feel like they have to earn their worth and re-earn it constantly. I didn't want that for my kids. And the reason I recognized it is because it's something that I am still unlearning myself. If you can't stop working without feeling guilty, that's not ambition, that's a pattern. And patterns can change, not with a better productivity system, but with a new understanding of who you are when you're not producing anything. Belief number 6. You think delegation is what you do when you're overwhelmed. I think that's already too late. I used to delegate from desperation. Something would get completely out of control, and I would finally, reluctantly hand it to someone else. Usually in a panic, usually without a real system behind it. And then I'd wonder why the handoff was so messy, why the person couldn't do it exactly the way I do it, and why I felt like it would be easier if I just took it back. It was messy because I waited too long, because I built the entire thing around my presence and then tried to extract myself under pressure. Delegation as a reactive emergency measure will always feel like losing control, because it is. Delegation as a proactive design principle, where you build the redundancy in before you actually need it, you make sure it's ready for handoff before the emergency, that is completely different. That is a business that could survive a bad week, a bad month, something unexpected. Your business should be able to run without you, not as a goal for someday, not as a reward for hitting a revenue milestone, as a design requirement from the moment you start building it. Because someday has a way of never arriving, and unexpected will come whether you're ready or not. Belief number 7. You think your health problems are separate from your business? I think your body has been auditing your business this whole time and filing accurate reports. The fatigue that doesn't respond to sleep, the anxiety that shows up every Sunday night, the gut issues, the joint pain, the way you get sick every time you try to take a vacation. You've probably explained it all away. Stress, getting older, just the way things are right now. But here's what I actually believe. Inflammation is almost always downstream from stress. And stress is almost always downstream of high-achieving women who've built businesses that put too much stress on them. And chronic stress in high-achieving women is almost always a result of a business that asks more of their nervous system than they can give. When everything in the business relies on you, your nervous system never gets to rest. Even when you're relaxing with your kids or on a vacation, part of your nervous system is always at work. That sustained activation has a physical cost. My immune system already paid it, and yours might be paying for it right now. Your body is not broken. It's responding to the structure that you built. Belief number 8. You think performance pressure is just who you are. I think it's who you were told to be, and you've been paying the bill for it ever since. I think a lot of women running businesses right now are not just overworked. They're carrying the full emotional weight of a child who was never allowed to be just average, who was praised specifically for how hard they pushed, and whose parents lit up when they saw that A+, but went completely quiet when it was a B. And that child is now a CEO. She has a team that depends on her, clients that depend on her, a family that depends on her, and she is somehow still chasing the approval that she was looking for when she was in elementary school. That is not a business problem. That is a much older problem. And no system will fix it, no delegation framework, no morning routine, no revenue milestone. The only thing that fixes it is deciding consistently every single day that your worth is not the same as your output, that you are allowed to exist without producing, that rest is not something you earn, and that being a mother is not something that needs to be in competition with being a business owner. Those beliefs were installed in you, and they can be uninstalled, but only if you decide that they need to be. Belief number 9. You're building a business, but I think you forgot that you're supposed to be building a life. This is the one that I come back to more than any other. You started your business because you wanted something. Maybe it was freedom, maybe it was financial security, maybe it was more time with your kids, maybe it was all of those things. But somewhere in the building of it, the business became the point, the revenue became the identity, the growth became the goal, and the life you were building it for was suddenly moved to someday. Someday when things calm down, someday when the team is bigger, someday when the revenue is more stable, someday when I can finally breathe. But let me ask you something. When is someday? Because I have watched women spend a decade building a business that was supposed to give them the life they wanted, and then suddenly look up and realize that that life never happened. Their kids grew up, their health declined, their relationship ended, and the business is still there, still demanding, still requiring more. The business was never the point. It was supposed to just be the vehicle for the life that you wanted, for the freedom that you wanted, for the thing that you wanted, for the time that you wanted with your family. If you've lost track of what that thing is, if you can't remember what you're building towards, that is the most important thing that you need to figure out for yourself. What do you actually want? Not your next offer, not your next hire, not your next revenue goal. What do you actually want? I don't expect you to agree with all 9 of these today. Some of these took years for me to start believing in. A couple of them I had to get sick to understand. And a few of them I'm still working through, because knowing something is true and actually living like it's true are completely different things. But if one of these landed, if you're sitting with yourself thinking about something you've never thought before, don't let that feeling go. That feeling is information. Tell me in the comments which one hit you the hardest. I'm building this channel around the things that high-achieving women are carrying quietly, and I would love to know what yours is. If this is the conversation you've been looking for, please like and subscribe. We talk about things like this every week. Thanks.